You look great.
Good evening and welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer insight, education, and resources to in-home child givers or caregivers and those that are affected in their world, the children, the parents, the extended family, and everyone who loves them. Our goal is to offer real-life topics and learning through discussing real issues and offering real solutions. Tonight, I'm really excited to welcome back a guest that we've had once before, Marley Hudanish. Marley is a master NCS through Newborn Care Solutions. She is a certified newborn care specialist through CASH. She is a credentialed nanny and NCS through the INA. Basically, Marley's done it all. And tonight, we are really excited to welcome her back. We've talked with her before about sleep. Tonight, we're going to spend some time really kind of focusing on one of Marley's really kind of special things that she is probably one of the best in at least the country and possibly the world at doing, and has more experience than any of us. And I know she's going to have some great information to share with us. But before we get started tonight, Marley, I would love if you could share just a little bit with us. And when we had you on last time, we talked about kind of how you got into the nanny career. So I'm going to totally put you on the spot because I got to be there and got to be a small part of it. But you had something something really exciting happen in your life this last year. You want to share it with us?
Definitely. So Andrew and I got married on February 2nd, which was 2020 at 2 p.m. And we had actually only known each other for 10 months at that point, which was whirlwind. We knew the night we met that this was it. We felt very fortunate because our wedding was pretty much the last wedding and honeymoon that we had without restrictions before the whole world shut down. And we came back from our honeymoon, had no idea things were even going on until we got to the airport. And then after that, about 4 weeks later, because he was still essential, we got quarantined away from each other because I had micro-preemies. And so I didn't see him for 6 weeks. So it was we keep looking back at our wedding, which was a lot of fun. We keep looking back at our wedding that we were just feel so blessed that we were able to be with our family and friends. And then on a joyous occasion before COVID happened, and we are in a whole different world now. So
yeah, we definitely are. And I would agree with you. Your wedding was fun because I got to be there, which was awesome.
You introduced us.
Yes, I did. I got to introduce the bride and groom when they came into the reception. And we won't talk about why Marley asked me to do that.
I asked you for the reason I knew you would do it, and because other people would be like, how am I supposed to do? You speak all the time.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of it.
And it was an honor. So,
and it was an honor to be asked to help. And it was a fun wedding. Weddings are not always fun. Sometimes they're kind of boring. So yours was. Ours was.
We always told everybody, come for the love, stay for the steak. Mm-hmm. And it was just, and then after that, we told everybody to go home and go to the Super Bowl game, go watch their Super Bowl parties and, stuff like that. So we had a lot of fun. At 7 o'clock that night, we were sitting in the hotel bar going, well, that was fun. Uh-huh. As opposed to a Saturday night one where it's all night long and everything like that. So,
right. No, I went back and ate wedding cake and went to bed. Oh, it was good. So we're going to get into our topic tonight. And what I want to focus with you tonight on and talk about, because this fascinates a lot of people. As a culture, we're fascinated, and maybe it's a worldwide phenomenon, I don't know. But as a culture, we're fascinated with twins and triplets to begin with. My husband was recently on a trip, and he spotted a deer that had triplets. And he took a picture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he took a picture and he sent it to me because he knew that it didn't even have to be human. And I would be fascinated by the fact that it was triplets.
We love all kinds of multiples.
That's right. And he was like, I don't know what's going on here, but all the does have like twins and triplets everywhere. There's just babies everywhere. was like, this is awesome. So yeah, we're absolutely fascinated. But I want to kind of talk a little bit more tonight about kind of some of your tips and tricks for not just working with twins and triplets, but with working with higher order multiples. Because you know what? A long, long time ago, a couple generations back, they were really rare. And while they're still not common, higher order multiples are certainly much more common in our world today. And they're a big part of being a newborn care specialist.
Hmm.
Families need that help and support, and you've done a lot of it. So tell us maybe just a little bit about, without giving away what you can't, but tell us a little bit about some of the families you worked with in terms of numbers,
Sure.
and then some of your tips.
Okay. I'm in Houston, Texas. So, we have a really great medical, center down here. So I think there's why there's probably more, high order multiples going on. I have worked with, two sets of quints, two sets of quads, honestly, countless numbers of triplets and twins. I don't actually even remember the number on those. And I actually work by myself. So I'm one person feeding five babies at once. And most of the times parents are like, wait, there's three adults trying to feed five babies. How do we do this? And I'm just like, go to bed. I got this, And they're watching you but I have very long wingspan, which helps a lot. And so a lot of working with a lot of babies, it's about being prepared ahead of time. Most babies actually, but when I'm trying to keep 3 to 5 babies asleep or not waking up the whole house at once, it's key to be on top of it. If we ate at midnight, 11:45, the bottles are ready. But how do you get 5 bottles ready? How do you get everything ready? So it's just you learn different tricks. How do you feed 5 babies at once? Um, I will with quintuplets. I will lay down a blanket, and then I'll get all the boppies, and then I'll put a blanket over each one, and then a burp cloth. And then I'll get the diapers and the wipes, and then I go get the babies, and I bring all of them in, and then I will sit there and just change the diapers. And unfortunately, with one baby, we don't do prop feeding. You don't need to do prop feeding. Even with 2 babies, you don't, because you can hold them like this and still, or however you want to do it, where you can literally feed them at the same time. But what do you do when you don't have enough hands? And so that's where I think it's more uh, learning. You do have to kind of prop feed, but you don't prop and walk away from them. You don't leave them because they could choke. Or so a lot of times, baby number one, well, I'll change the baby number one's diaper, re-swaddle, and then prop the bottle up with like the Aiden and Annie blankets. They're nice and pliable. You can kind of do that. And then by the time you get to this one over here and do that, the first one needs to be burped again. And then you burp. I mean, there's been times you have to kind of roll them all over and burp them on the boppies at the like bongos. I know that sounds awful, but um, the goal is, but also they have reflux. So after they eat, we have to keep them elevated for about 30 minutes before they can be back in their crib laying flat. The so that's but being prepared for that. And then there's times you're feeding babies and you're using your knee and just other different things, just to kind of to make it work. But with multiples, they eat at the same time. They sleep at the same time. If not, you would never, ever, ever get a break. I mean, not even a chance to run to the restroom. In the middle of the night, the goal is to teach them to not get it fully awake, and then to get them to the point where we can um, get them sleeping.
Mhm.
And it can happen. It does happen. It doesn't happen immediately, and they're not ready for a long time most of the time.
Yeah, I love the fact that you brought up a couple of really key components around that. That this isn't the ideal, but ideally every baby would be held for every feeding if we could. We know developmentally that's the ideal. And yet we have to acknowledge that not every family has that ability to have that many people. And we have to deal in what is reality not only for what you can do if you're the individual caregiver there, but also what these families are going to be able to do after we leave. And then your other key point, which I is so huge in this, which is you never walk away. And so when I tell people about working with multiples and getting everything ready ahead of time, I say, here's part of getting ready. Go to the bathroom because you
Get some
don't,
water.
yep,
Yep.
because you don't want to have to urgently go to the bathroom in the middle of feeding those babies because you cannot leave them.
Right.
It's not an option because it could be very, very dangerous. The other thing that's nice about that is that you're setting an example for the families and teaching them how critically important it is to never walk away from a baby like that in that kind of situation.
Well, and I think also the parent, it's important that babies do get individual attention. And a lot of times when you have high order multiples, there will be volunteers or, and everybody wants to hold a baby. So I encourage that during the day and not during the day, have visitors. This is pre-COVID, of course, but have visitors. They want to hold the baby. They want to do the laundry. They want to be helpful. And so I always encourage parents to do that. Like, let them hold the babies at night. I I got this, kind of thing. But they do need that love and everything like that. And that's where the volunteers can come in because they can do that during the day. Or grandmas, you always say grandmas have earned the right to rock their babies, and we absolutely want that. But if there's 5 babies, how about one a day? For about 30 minutes, like just really get it, soak it in, kind of thing. So it's about, excuse me, it's about wanting to just empower them. Safety is the most important because if you think about it, if you're changing a baby and then you put the baby down and you prop feed and you turn your back to change another baby, you've left them. That's why we're changing the diapers on the floor, but of course on the blanket. And then when all of this is done and they go back to their beds, clean it all up because if you're in the nursery, especially if there's an emergency and you have to come flying in that room, you need to make sure that there is nothing on the floor that's going to get in the way of you. And also have parents not rearrange the furniture. I had a family not too long ago, last night. She moved the furniture and I fell, and because it's a very dark room. I mean, it is, but because of sleeping and everything like that. So,
So
um,
if it's really dark in the room and you've got everything set up, how do you know which baby is who and who's been fed and
uh,
who hasn't? How does that all work?
that's a very good question. One of the things that I do is, and I do it consistently, is especially in high order multiples, is we have them alphabetical because nobody besides the parents and the grandparents are the only ones who will remember which one was baby A, which one was baby B. Nobody else is going to remember that. So having them alphabetical helps, and it helps for a lot of reasons. It's not just which crib are they in, but it's also to make sure the information was documented into the log correctly. But also, if any of the babies are on medicine, or one of my subsequents was on 3 different formulas, um, which was really important that the right baby got the right formula. So I always do alphabetical, so I can walk in a room, I can tell you exactly where everybody is. So even if they're in a bunch of swings, having them alphabetical, and it helps everybody. Also, color coding things. Just one baby gets a blue, one baby gets green, that kind of thing. That also helps too because I was feeding quintuplets and somebody handed me the green bottle, and I was holding the baby who normally had the purple bottle, and I was like, and then I literally actually pulled up my phone to look at a picture to make sure which baby I actually had. So that was really important. It's just, and it helps to stay organized, and it helps everybody just to um, be giving. We don't want to skip a baby. You're like, wow, you've been crying this whole time because we somehow managed to skip, a baby, and so alphabetical is one of my favorite tips. It just makes it easier. I can walk in, I can tell where everybody is, and also when all the bottles are lined up in the fridge, if they have different ones, we do that.
Right. So if I'm hearing right, having a system, whatever it is, whether it's colors or alphabetical, having a
Or
system,
both.
yeah, or both, but having that system, following it all the time and making sure that everybody else is following it also. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
And I will tell you, I had somebody fill in for me once at a job where I was working with multiples, and they didn't follow my system because I do the same. I don't use alphabetical per se, because for whatever reason, I seem to get multiples that all have the same first initial, like
Ah,
Tammy, Tracy, and Tabitha, or whatever.
oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so it makes it a little harder. So I you was using color anyway. For some reason, the person filling in that day for me didn't follow my method, even though I had everything set up and prepped for them. And one baby got fed twice, and one of the babies didn't get fed at all.
Mm,
And when the
yeah,
mom found out, she was really upset, and of course, rightly so. Um,
right.
and so I've made it my policy now. If anybody's filling in for me, they I'm really just like hardcore. You have to follow my method. You have to do this. And I tell them that story because generally that, of course, makes them go, oh, no, 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 I never. And then they're extra careful. Um,
Right, right.
but, and so
No, I
do
agree.
you teach these methods to the families also? Is that important?
Definitely. And it is important because parents I always tell people they're like, "Well, I've never worked with quintuplets." And I said, "Look, if you can do triplets, you can do quintuplets because you are already out. You do not have enough arms for everybody." And parents, when they're hiring either like a nanny, like, "I really liked her, but she doesn't have a lot of triplet experience." And I said, "Neither did you. You know, 6 weeks ago, you guys had never done this." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a good point." So it's showing them how can I mean, the parents came into the nursery. I have triplets right now, and I had two in my arms, burping them like this because they were having a hard time. And then the third one started having a hard time, and I was like, "Oh." So the way the room right now is set up, there's a twin size bed, which I highly recommend for triplets and under because you can stand there and do boppies instead of getting on the floor every time. And so there was a chair, and I just moved my knees up to the bed, and sat in the chair and grabbed the one that was crying on his own. Had the other two in the same boppy lounger. So I had this one in the crook of my arm. I pulled the boppy lounger down, and then I was able to finish feeding one of them, holding one, and there I had all three. And the dad walked in. He's like, "You're gonna have to teach me how to do that." I said, "You guys aren't ready yet." Swaddle, keeping them swaddled. If you have to pick up two at the same time, having them swaddled is key because then their arms aren't flailing about, and that really helps. But these are, I didn't know what I was doing the first time either. I mean, my first overnights were twins. My next overnights were quintuplets, like just right out the deep end. So it's just, and everybody finds a different rhythm. The wonderful doula that's working with me during the day, we are wedding twins. We got married on the same day, which is hysterical. But I'm like 6'2" and she's like 5 foot. So her techniques of feeding the three babies at the same time are very, very different than mine. Um, so,
Yeah.
but it is absolutely something that's teachable. And honestly, I get a lot of, "Will you mentor me on this? Will you come? Can I come shadow you?" And this is a great opportunity to get the experience.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, people hardly even check my references once they find out I've worked with sextuplets. Now,
I
I'm
haven't
not.
had them checked. You're right. I haven't had them checked in years.
Yeah, I obviously I would not encourage parents or agencies not to check references, but nevertheless, people are just so confident that you can do the job at that point. And those opportunities as a nanny or an NCS or a doula to work on a team and learn from somebody who has experience, those are invaluable. So you have shared some really great tips with us tonight. If there was one thing that you could leave everybody with, one thing that you would say, look, if you're working with multiples, this is the thing, what would you tell everybody?
I know last time we said consistency, and I could probably say that with this too. But I think I might say being prepared.
Hmm.
Don't wait until last minute to make sure what if all the bottles are dirty? Don't wait until last minute. If they're eating at midnight, be ready at 11:45, where you're getting the bottles warmed and you've gone to the restroom and everything like that. Being prepared and listening to their cues, because sometimes they're just making a noise and other times it's about to just fall apart completely. Um, and one of my tricks is also is if they're what do you do when they're all crying at the same time?
Mhm.
Take care of the ones that you're like, okay, you are going to have to be burped and it's going to take you a few minutes, but the ones that just need a passy or something like that, take care of them first. Then you can give your full attention to, because if you're trying to burp this one and put a passy here and stuff like that, it gets very, very busy and nobody's getting your attention that they need. And
Mhm.
just taking a few minutes, and it's okay that they're going to cry for a second, but
Yeah. And I tell our students to acknowledge to yourself and to the parents that it's going to happen at some point, and we just stay calm. We evaluate the situation, make the decision about what need needs to be dealt with first, and then go from there. And if everybody
I
stays
agree.
calm, it is over fairly quickly, usually.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
yeah. And I would 100% agree with you, Marley, that preparation is key with the multiples. Absolutely key. That is the difference.
Because if not, you're always catching up,
Mhm.
and the goal, especially at night, is we don't want them at a full on wake up cry. The
Uh-huh.
goal is that they eat, they don't even know they ate, and go back to sleep.
Yeah. We don't like crying babies. We like to take care of and meet their needs without them ever needing to cry. And
Definitely,
and
definitely.
your other point around that, which was pay attention to their cues. They will tell you what they need if we pay attention to them. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Marley, I really appreciate you joining us tonight and sharing
Thank
these.
you so much for having me.
Yeah, it is such an honor always to get to talk to you. It's always fun. You have the best smile. It's my favorite part. Um,
Oh, thank you so much.
and you've shared some really great takeaways with our audience tonight. So thank you.
Tanya, and I just want to say thank you for everything. And just because being in your programs and everything, it changed my life. So thank you so very much.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm glad. I love my whole goal with everything I do is to support and empower people and families. And ultimately, you know what? Here's the deal. This is the whole reason I do it because the families and the babies benefit from it. And it
You said
really,
you said when you were teaching the green class at the INA conference, and you said that you saw like a light in my eyes, and you knew. You're like,
I do. I do. I know those who are going to be really good at this. Usually the first time I meet them because I can see that fire, that passion, that light in their eye that says, "Ooh, this is my thing. This is where I belong." And you know
this
what?
is exactly where I
I've been
belong.
doing this for over 35 years and I still have that passion. And
Good,
so,
good.
I know it's where I belong. So, anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you for letting us learn with you. For all of you in our audience, if you have any questions about this topic or anything else that you think Marley might be able to share with you, because she's got a lot of experience with those, or if you're a parent out there who wants to get a hold of Marley, put your questions or your comments in the feed and tag Marley or tag Newborn Care Solutions. We'll make sure she sees it and that you get answers. If you're wanting to rewatch this segment or catch any of our other past Real Talk episodes, along with accessing our other content, hop on over to newborncaresolutions.com and click on the education tab. It'll take you right to where you can find everything. So thank you so much for joining us tonight and have a great night.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Night.